Hey everybody, welcome to the Partnered Up podcast. Today we're going to be introducing ourselves. I'm Sergio.
And I'm Kimberly.
And welcome to our show.
Our first official episode, for real.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a little bit off on the sides. We got a couple of test episodes under our belt, and now we're going to try to go ahead and bring to the people the actual show for real.
Yeah, post it, not just show our families.
Yeah.
Or watch it ourselves on repeat, criticizing ourselves.
Just trying to get these dang cameras to work one after another until we finally gave up and started using our own phones.
Yeah. We don't use them during this episode, so it's fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, Kimberly, what are we doing here? Who are we? Why should people care?
Well, technically you had an idea to start this podcast. And I mean, I feel like people will realize we're husband and wife. We aren't just two random people. Because sometimes friends will just make podcasts, like whether it's a guy and a girl, whatever. Oh, it's also January 1st. So you might hear some fireworks in the back.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Yeah. Starting off the new year making a podcast. Isn't that fun? So you wanted to start this, and it took a little bit convincing, I think, from my end. But I enjoy podcasts. I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy watching podcasts, and I enjoy talking to you. So I figured, why not? I've been having fun during the test episodes. So we just wanted to go for it. And I think the original intent was to be a little bit more business, tech, entrepreneur. But we want to just be genuine people and have genuine conversations, whatever the topic is. Because our test episodes have been pretty fun, I think. And we might just continue that.
Yeah, I mean, we've had we had one test episode with a guest speaker now.
Yes.
So I feel like we're prepared to bring on, anybody who we feel might be good to contribute to the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good time to bring up how at least I decided that this could be a thing. We are both from the Rio Grande Valley down in South Texas. If you don't know where that is, you go south. And you keep going south until you start seeing the Border Patrol. You're in the valley. Mm-hmm.
The palm trees.
Most people think South Texas, and I don't know why it's just San Antonio. No, further.
I think they think of San Antonio as the last legit piece of Texas, and the rest is just fields, which is not wrong.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
But the valley is 4 counties made up of...
Hold on. I got this. It's Hidalgo, Willacy, Star, Cameron.
Yes.
Nice.
Correct. I was going to say it's the same population of Austin.
All 4 counties.
I remember when I Googled it a while ago, that was the stat. I don't know if that is currently the stat now. But yeah, it's the same population, the 4 counties, as one giant city.
Yeah, and I honestly think it operates a lot sort of like Dallas, like the DFW area, how you have Dallas, Fort Worth, right? And that entire area is multiple cities, but they all operate as one.
Yeah, I like kind of like Austin, the way you have,
Pflugerville, Round Rock,
yeah,
Leander, Cedar Park, all those. And although they're different cities, they pretty much just all work together.
Yeah, definitely. And our unique perspective is that we were there, now we're here, and I think people identify with that because people who move away from home. In Austin, you get a lot of people who have moved here from other big cities. We've moved here from a small town from the border.
We're making it in Austin.
Yeah, I guess that's a dream of a lot of people from where we're from, at least.
Yeah, at least for me, I would come and spend spring breaks here in Austin during high school. Me and my friends would all come down to an internet convention called as RTX, where I was actually a volunteer. I was what they called a guardian. I would volunteer, and I would help out in panels. I would help out in registration, and I was part of the Rooster Teeth Expo.
I remember coming with you twice. Once, just us, and you were a guardian, and we would spend some time together, but then I would just, me, I'm fine with being by myself, so I would go off and do things on my own while you were working. And then another year we came with your sisters.
That's right.
And then I think you moved to Austin a month later or 2 months later.
That's right.
I remember we came with them. We were saying, you were already living here. Mm-hmm. You had to have already been living here. Because the first year we came the year before that when we got a hotel close by downtown.
Yeah, because I was a guardian maybe like 4 or 5 years in a row.
But we were just together those 2 of those years.
Right.
And then you stopped being that because you got a big boy job.
That's right. I got my big boy job. No longer in the time to do that. But then I think that's when we went as attendees.
Yeah, just
time.
attendees.
And
The last year we went.
it was also the same year that Bernie announced he left the Rooster Teeth.
I don't remember like when that time frame was, but probably that's why probably you stopped going.
Yeah, no. After that, I mean, Bernie was really the figure that I really looked up to in Rooster Teeth.
I can tell.
And it slowly, I don't know, in my opinion, it slowly started declining a little bit after then. But I mean, the RT podcast is what I followed a whole lot more than anything else.
So that was like your inspiration for this.
Exactly. So I would see the banter that they'd have, the setup, and I figured, it's great conversation because I always felt like I wanted to be part of that conversation or the topics that they were talking about. It's something that I felt like I could even contribute to. It's very relatable content. And as we are from the Valley, we'd had to get in our car and drive down to South Texas, which is depends where you're coming from. So if you're going from Austin to the Valley, McAllen or Edinburgh, where we're from, it's about a 4.5, maybe 5 hour drive. If you're coming the other way to Austin, it's more like a 4 hour drive. Mm-hmm. Just traffic from Austin adds 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So in that time, you and I have a lot of time to just talk and discuss things. Sometimes we fight, we argue, but by the end of the drive, there's a solution. If we have topics that you and I have in common that we want to talk about, we usually get to discuss those, and I find those really interesting. I find those really entertaining, and I know that just listening to us talk always felt like one of those podcasts that I would listen to, just like a friendly conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I wanted to make sure we could share that. I mean, at the same time, we're also leaving this as a little bit of a time capsule.
Yeah, that's true. It's fun because I don't remember a lot of those conversations that we've had, but there was a lot because first we were long distance for a little bit, for like a year. Feels like nothing now, but back then it felt like forever. I think going into like our second or third year of being together, we were long distance. You lived here in Austin, and we would talk to each other on the phone because you're a freak and you don't need to listen to music or listen to a podcast while you're driving for some reason. And so I got to take advantage of that because you would leave and then I would just call you and then we would talk on the phone until you got to Austin.
Yeah, no.
Almost 5, because you live north. So that was like a true 5-hour drive.
Yeah, because I lived past Austin, even further from Austin. I was in Cedar Park at the time when I moved in. The first place I lived.
Basically, yeah, like Cedar Park at the time.
My address said Austin.
It did say Austin, but I think the next street was Cedar Park.
Yeah, that's right. I was on this side of the street, which was still Austin, as opposed to the other side of the street, which officially made it Cedar Park.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so let's talk about our backgrounds. Kimberly, where did you? What do you do? Oh, what have you studied to do? Where are you from? Tell us about yourself.
So, I'm from Edinburgh, and people probably don't know because they think when they hear about the Valley. I think the 2 cities they hear is Brownsville and McAllen.
Yeah,
I'm from Edinburgh, which is the first big, quote unquote, big-ish city. It has UTRGV, which formerly was UTPA. My whole family is there. I think for the exception of 1 or 2 aunts or uncles. And I went to school in Mercedes, Texas. Okay. Went to Med High. And then I went to college in San Antonio, Texas, which is about 3.5 hours north of there. And I studied business, the concentration in marketing. Didn't go into that, which is ironic. But I think college helps you learn how to think, how to interact with people, how to become an adult a little bit. Not all the time, as we know. But, you get to be off on your own. I left home for college, so I learned a lot more responsibility. I learned how to be by myself. And then after that, I worked human resources retail, which is, I'm not going to get into all the details. I worked at a big chain retail store as a HR manager for almost 5 years in 4 different locations. One in the Valley and then 3 to here in the Austin area. Served my sentence. I think I mentioned that before in one of our test episodes. Won't get into that. But then as I was there, I knew I didn't want to stay in that type of environment because Q4 was hard. Working retail is just hard in general. No matter your position, you could be the cart person or you could be the store manager, and it's a hard job. Like I do respect the people who do that on a day-to-day basis, who've done it for, their whole lives, their whole careers, because it's a hard job. I know people probably don't think that, but when you've been in it and you know it's a hard job. So I wanted to get out. So you helped inspire me you were in the tech industry, and we'll probably pivot to you right now so you can tell your background. And then I did learn a lot of skills in HR, people management, people operations. And then I took Scrum Master certifications on the weekend, got that. But before I got a Scrum Master job, I started working for the state for a little bit, just doing small business advocate. That was a fever dream, I feel like, because I worked in downtown Austin at the Capitol.
I remember that. Was the business development?
Yeah, the economic business development part of the governor's office.
Fun fact: Kimberly got COVID directly from Governor Abbott.
He did. He had gotten COVID, I think a couple weeks before me. And so I'm just convinced that we had a party or something. And I'm convinced that one of the people who had interacted with him gave it to people at the party. And then I got it from them.
Yeah.
So that's our joke. I was only there for about 3-4 months. It felt like a summer internship because I started working there in May and I finished in August. And then I started a job at a tech company here in Austin as a program manager, which is like you can do Scrum Master actions, but it's a bit of a mix of Scrum Master, a little bit of a project manager. I don't know how to exactly explain it. I just tell people I was a organizer of engineers.
It's HR for programmers. That's what I feel like.
But like not with all the technical.
You don't
jargon.
have to like manage the talent themselves, but the stuff you did at your store as part of like the HR team lead that at least you would tell me about at the time. It was like you just managing the staff and like making sure that their output was being productive and it was being measured.
They had no blockers. They could like do their jobs, help bridge the gap at times between product and engineering. And people who are in the industry know that sometimes that those gaps are hard to bridge because of they speak different languages. You have to kind of know how to speak to both. I worked in a department where I didn't always have product, so that I was a little bit more on the engineering heavy side, and I did enjoy that. I did working with the engineering heavy. At times, it was a little bit confusing because I before that I did not have a technical background besides things I learned from you, but I really enjoyed it. And then, as we all know, the tech companies are infamous for their layoffs, and I was laid off in 2024, but I was 7 months pregnant. I am pregnant still. And so still looking for a job, still, casually looking, but working on our own projects now on the side. That's my background. That's a very short, sweet, simple explanation of my background.
Oh man, now I'm gonna have to go through my resume. I thought you were just gonna be like, "Hi, I'm Kimberly. This is where I'm from. This is why I'm here," and it was just gonna be a sweet paragraph. You just went full deep dive.
I did. People need to know.
Well, for me, I am originally from Monterrey, Mexico.
Don't lie. Tell them the truth.
No, okay, fine. You and I were born in the same hospital.
Same hospital, same doctor, and now we're married, which I think is really funny. And we didn't meet until we were like in school, in middle school, high school.
So you and I were both born in Edinburgh, Texas, right? You stayed, and then I left Monterrey with my family. My family and I grew up in Monterrey, spoke Spanish primarily stayed there for 7 years, I think, until my little sister was born. And then we moved back to the United States, also for just like the education system, right? Like at that point, we wanted to make sure that my parents wanted to make sure that I had the best education, that the environment was conducive to raising children. And they just wanted the best for us. So we moved out back into the U.S. because both my parents were U.S. citizens at the time. Well, I think my mom was a resident. My dad was a U.S. citizen. So we're like, let's just move back, take advantage of the public school system. Because in Mexico, once you reach a certain time, like there's no free public education system. You have to pay the tuition for it. So especially me being a U.S. citizen in Mexico, you have to pay. So at that point, they decided,
like out of state tuition.
Yeah, basically
pay out of country tuition.
Exactly. So then I come over to the U.S. and I stayed in high school in the McAllen independent school system, and went to high school in Mercedes across the street from you.
Yes.
So you went to Met High, and I went to SciTech. So my high school background was geared towards engineering, and yours was geared towards the medical
I didn't
field.
even talk about that. I skipped over that I was supposed to be a nurse.
That's right.
I skipped over that because sometimes I like to forget that I tried to do that. But yes, we did.
That's right. And that's where we met.
It's funny because I think a lot of people who see us probably are like, what? Wait, I remember those two. They didn't even talk to each other in high school.
No, we were like passing ships in the night. You know, you were in Med High, so we officially met each other through
In
mutual
middle
friends.
school, yes.
In middle school.
But
At what, 13? When we were 13? That's right.
So we've known each other for almost 17 years now.
Yeah.
We've known of each other, because I will say that. We didn't really know each other that well, but we've known of each other for more than half of our lives.
That's right.
It's crazy.
So after high school, I didn't get to leave for college. I started sending, the applications, started looking at tuition, and realized quickly that UT Austin and all these other colleges were going to get very expensive really quick. Mm-hmm. And UT Pan Am at the time, the University of Texas Pan American, was a lot more affordable at the time. So I started looking at their engineering programs and saw that their mechanical engineering programs and their computer science programs were just as good.
Wait, before you continue, fun fact about myself. I was not supposed to leave for college. I was going to go to UTRGV. I was convinced.
Really?
And this one girl I went to high school with, her name was Claudia, I think. She convinced me to be like, you know what? You should go off because why are you going to stay? I'm like, well, it's the easier path. She was like, no, you should look. We're not friends. Like, we know each other. We're acquaintances. But we weren't like good friends or anything. And she convinced me one day during one of our classes. That's why I left the Valley for school.
Wow.
I was going to go to UTRGV. My parents live a block away.
That girl single-handedly cost your parents so much more money.
Yeah, but I wanted to say that little fun fact about it. So thanks, Claudia. You made me leave for college, and it was great. But you can continue now.
But yeah, so I stayed in UTRGV. It was a lot easier. I could help out my parents and whatnot. So I joined in as a mechanical engineer at first. Mm-hmm. And I've been coached by my dad since like elementary school on like, what do you like? What are sort of your aptitudes? What do you think you'd like to do? What's the best way to make money? That has been highly reinforced because that's how you support yourself. That's how you support your family. Mm-hmm. And my family is in the stage where we're still building the foundation of our family for our future generations. Mm-hmm. So my dad was very conscious of that. And he's like, let's make sure that we put you in the right track. So that at the time was mechanical engineering. Computer science and engineering and programming wasn't that far ahead. And I actually had a couple family members that had already gone into the computer science field. And it was just constant, like you had to keep updating because everything was constantly getting out of date. Mm-hmm. And it's still like that to a certain degree, but I think markets have exploded now. They're within the fields, so it makes it a lot more sustainable than it used to be. So I joined in as mechanical engineering. Mm-hmm. And then my dad went into college as well. So I took him to the counselor's office because he was coming in from SDC to try to finish his degree. Mm-hmm. And when he was going into computer science, I realized, hey, that's actually a lot of the stuff that I already like.
It was a mixture.
Right. So
mechanical and computer stuff.
So computer science is just programming. And I'm like, man, I wish there was something that could handle like mechanics and computers, like simultaneously. And then as I said that, the counselor said, well, that's what computer engineering is. They have these things called Raspberry Pis, and they're basically tiny computers that are the size of a credit card, and it combines like the mechanics of hardware with computer science. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, but it's less mechanics because that would be more like robotics, and it's more electrical engineering. So it's a nice hybrid. So I started looking at that, and I realized that my entire childhood I've been like hacking iPods, have been tearing things apart and putting them back together. Has always been electrical engineering / computer science. So this was the perfect meld, and that's when I made the switch.
And how far along with you?
I was 1 year into.
So it's like going into your sophomore year.
Correct.
Okay, it's not that bad.
So in my sophomore year, I switched over to computer engineering with a software focus, which meant I just do more coding than I do soldering at that point.
But you do know how to do all that.
I do know how to do all that. You're painfully aware with my mad scientist lab that I have upstairs.
Yes.
But I mean, that's when I also started going to college with my dad. So sophomore, junior, and senior year of college, I was...
But you guys weren't doing the exact same degree, but it was just very similar. So you had a lot of similar classes.
Right. So the thing is, the first 2 years of the computer engineering degree is very like math intense.
I bet.
But then since I took the focus on software, it basically made it a computer science degree. So towards the end, junior, senior year,
It was all computer science.
it was all computer science classes. So it was like me and my dad would take the same courses, the same semester.
Was that better or worse for you?
I mean, it was great. I had a carpool some of the time, right? So I remember falling asleep and he would drive or vice versa. It did cost me a windshield at one point, but that's another story. And I think it was even funnier because my cousin was also going, but he stayed in the mechanical engineering track.
Yeah.
At one point, my dad, my cousin, and me were all in the same engineering ethics course. And I was falling asleep. My cousin was on his phone. And my dad was paying attention. And somehow we would get better grades than he did.
Your dad is to this day still very studious, right? It's a word. He loves to learn and read.
Yeah.
Compared
So
to like most people I know. Even like no matter anyone's age, he's the one who loves to learn still.
yeah. So he actually graduated right before me. So at the end of my junior year, he graduated.
Yeah.
So,
I remember.
Like, I didn't even get to be first
Walk with
generation.
Yeah, he took that from you.
Yeah, every form I was filling out, I was like first generation graduate. And then when I finally went to fill out the application, I wasn't first generation graduate anymore. So he beat me to it.
Yep.
So he says, I went to make sure he graduated.
Yeah.
And after that, I picked up a job in insurance, of all things, as a data analyst. And because actually I got the internship first, and then I pulled some of my friends. I referred them because I knew they were great at the kind of stuff we were doing. I referred them. The department loved the work that we were outputting, and they offered me a full-time position. I started working there as a data analyst for the insurance on the sales department. It's just funny. You'd think I'd pick up some of those sales skills, but I was automating all their sales reports until I got a job offer from Q2 here in Austin to come and be a mobile online banking software engineer, specifically on Android. So I came to Austin on probably a year after I graduated. And started working in Q2 for a couple years as a software engineer. And then I love Facebook Marketplace in Austin.
Yeah.
Right. But I did not expect to get a job out of Facebook Marketplace.
Yep.
So you were there. I mean, at this point, it was a couple years after I had graduated. You had moved in, and we
had Bella already.
That's right. I've always had a bunch of side gigs, and at the time I was working on, what was it?
Bar Hop.
Bar Hop. Yeah. It was an app that was going to let you bar hop, so you don't have to open and close a tab every single time. You could just use the same app. And I needed to integrate the app into a POS system, so I started looking for Clover POSs. And I found one guy who was selling them online. And when I met with him, we just struck up conversation. And on the way back, he essentially was like, "Hey, you're a mobile developer. Would you like a job? We need somebody to start and lead and grow our team at the company." And I looked him up, and turns out this guy was part of like the federal government and had
He was legit.
he had multiple exits with multiple companies. So yeah, he was a full legit CEO. So I took him up on his offer. Worked at a company called Zen Business, which is the company that I pulled you in to become a Scrum Master.
That's the company
on.
that laid me off last year. Yes.
Yeah, and after we cut ties with that company as well, I got picked up by HEB, and now I'm the engineering manager for HEB and all their digital fulfillment. So if you go to HEB and you order curbside or you order delivery, the workers are using the app that me and my team push out to the store every single day.
Wow. Very impressive. HEB is, if you're not from Texas or South Central Texas, Mexico, even North Mexico, HEB is king here.
Yeah.
HEB. I don't know. Some people, I met some people who are better about HEB just because they like Whole Foods better, but HEB is amazing. I was part of their cult even before you worked there.
That's right. I mean, we've all loved it. Like HEB is the place to go for affordable food. I mean, I don't know how else, like HEB works now that I work there. I know that they work on the slimmest margins out of everyone, and that's how they beat their competition.
Yeah.
They have the highest volume, so they can work on the smallest margins. And they beat Kroger, they beat Walmart, they beat Target. I mean, they don't really count Target as a competitor because they're more of a department store. But they've driven competitors out of their territory just because they can't compete.
You go to small towns and they only have an HEB, nothing else. Their Walmarts will close, not their HEBs.
Right. Now, HEB works great with the local suppliers and brings all that in, so it makes them really sustainable as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's my background.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Well, we'll see what this year brings. Today we wrote our goals for 2025, so we'll see what happens this year. We're having a baby this month, which is funny. Not funny. It's weird because I still feel like we're those.
It's concerning.
Early 20-something-year-olds that when we started dating, that we still feel like we are. But no, I'm 30. You're almost 30. And we're about to have our first child.
Yikes.
But it's going to be an interesting year, I think. You know, starting this podcast and just getting to it.
Yeah. Hopefully we get to share a lot of our experience. We get to share what made us get the degree of success that we've had for now. And hopefully as we continue to grow and become more successful in the future, we can help others along the way reach the same goals that we have.
Even if I think we don't help, I think just having somebody you can relate to, I think is important. That's why I like listening to some of the podcasts I do. I listen to a lot of, as we'll talk about probably eventually, like true crime, family ones. And a lot of people are just around my age, whether they have a full-time job, whether they are part-time working or don't work, like they're just a stay-at-home mom or wife. I think it can bring an interesting perspective because you like to relate to people who are in your same shoes or from your same place. Like, right. It's funny being here in Austin, when you see people from the Valley where we're from, you guys just gravitate towards each other. You're like, wait, 956? Like, I think I know, like, you're from, and I'm like, yes. Oh, I'm from far. Oh, I'm from here, San Benito. It's like, what?
That's right.
We all just kind of gravitate towards each other. So that's not our main audience because anybody, like, I think anyone from small town, small area, because even the Valley, I think Edinburgh, it's like 100,000 people population. McAllen's like 300,000. That doesn't sound like a small city to me. Small is like 5,000. And under. But some people can still relate, even if you're from a small area somewhere else in Texas or somewhere else from whatever state you were in.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and I know one of the goals that I have for this podcast is to be able to just help out the person that I was, the young kid that was always looking to get ahead and try to bring their family with them. So I always looked for what are other people doing that I could do myself to get to where they are. So hopefully along this podcast, we can pass on some advice and help
learn
others.
about balance too, because I feel you've helped me learn to try to move forward, because I was very content in just staying in a normal job and living my life as anonymously as I could. But I've kind of like been pulled out of that. But then I have to bring you down a little bit sometimes. Like, okay, let's be realistic here, but not in a bad way, hopefully.
That's right.
So we can just help people do that. And just also have fun along the way, because we like having conversations and talking to each other.
We do. And hopefully we'll have lots more conversations to share with people.
Yes.
Woo. All right, guys. Well, that's our first official episode of the Partner Out podcast. So hopefully you guys join us here for the rest of the episodes, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.